Welcome to the backstory to Antigone. So, Antigone has two parts before it. It's a trilogy, and Antigone is the last book or the last play. So, I'm going to give you a brief background of the plays that happened before then so you'll know what's going on when we start to read. So, first of all, the story of Antigone takes place or starts off in the kingdom of Thebes. So, there's another kingdom across the way, the kingdom of Corinth. So, in the kingdom of Thebes, we have King Laos and his wife, Queen Jocasta. And in the kingdom of Corinth, we have King Polybus and his wife, whose name I don't remember. So one day, King Laos and King Jocasta decide that they want to have a baby. And they do have a baby. His name is baby Oedipus. But he's not named Oedipus yet, because King Laos makes the mistake of going to a fortune teller who tells him that his baby is going to grow up to kill him and marry his wife. And he goes, "Oh no, not me." But he feels bad about murdering the baby. So he takes the baby and chucks him out into the mountains that are in between the kingdom of Corinth and the kingdom of Thebes. His name is Oedipus because when the king chucked him out, he somehow ended up with a swollen foot. So his name was Swollen Foot. Just roll with it. Okay? Yeah, it's fine. All right, so one day, there was the kingdom of in the kingdom of Corinth, King Polybus and his wife were sad because they couldn't have children. And it so happened that there was a shepherd who was out in the mountains and finds baby Oedipus crying in the mountains, starving, about to die, and feels sorry for him. So he picks him up and takes him back to the king and queen and says, "I found this baby in the mountains. Oh no, what should we do?" And the queen says to her husband, King Polybus, "Oh, please, 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 please let me keep him. I did so good with that cat." I'm not kidding. There really wasn't. I mean, I am kidding. There really wasn't a cat. But she wants to keep him to be her baby. So Prince Oedipus is now prince of a different kingdom. Talk about some good luck. He was going to be prince to the kingdom of Thebes. He got chucked out in the mountains to die. He was found, and now he's the prince of a different kingdom. I mean, really. The guy has some awesome luck. But one day, he goes to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller tells him, bad news, you're going to marry your mom after you kill your dad. And he's like, "Oh, heck no, not me. This guy ain't marrying his mama." So he runs away, thinking that he's escaping his destiny, because he has no idea that these people aren't his real parents. He has no idea that his real parents are over here in the kingdom of Thebes. So he runs away from home and he comes to a crossroads, which is kind of symbolic for some decision that he has to make. And he meets a stranger at that crossroads. They get in a fight over something really stupid. And wouldn't you know, the stranger happens to be his dad, who is just dressed up as a commoner for the day to get out of the castle for a while. And sure enough, Oedipus kills his dad, and his dad is now dead. At the same time that he was killing his dad and had no idea that it was his dad that he was killing, there happens to be a sphinx who is terrorizing the kingdom of Thebes. So Queen Jocasta, let me tell you, she's not having a bad day or a bad month. She's having a bad year, because some stranger shows up and kills her husband, and this sphinx is terrorizing the kingdom, because it's got the body of a lion and the head of a woman, and he's eating the people in the town. So in a desperate move, since she no longer has a king to take care of her and to run the country, she says anybody who is strong enough and smart enough to destroy the Sphinx will be able to have the prize of me. You can be king and be my husband if you will just save the town. Well, Oedipus is a pretty smart guy, so he takes the challenge. So the Sphinx gives him a riddle. The Sphinx says, "What is born with 4 legs, has 2 legs when it gets older, and 3 legs before it dies?" And Oedipus thought about it for a little bit, and he's like, "Ha, I got this. It's a person, a man, because the baby crawls on 4 legs and then walks with 2 while he's a grown-up, and then usually has a cane, that's your 3 legs, before he dies." So the Sphinx keeps her word, throws herself into the ocean, bloop, 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 bloop. And what do you know? Oedipus fulfills his destiny because he accidentally killed his dad, has no idea that it was his dad, and now he has married his mother and become king of the kingdom of Thebes. And everything's hunky-dory for a while. In fact, the relationship's pretty good because they have, count them, not one, not two, not three, but 4 children. 2 sets of twins. Antigone and Ismene are a set of girl twins, and Eteocles and Polynices are a set of boy twins. And everything is just fine for a while until a plague strikes the city. Well, this guy named Creon, he's Iocasta's brother, that's the queen's brother, and he's kind of a little ticked because this chump Oedipus shows up out of nowhere, and he kind of had his eye, he had his eye on the throne. So he goes to a fortune teller, which we see turns out badly every other time. But he goes anyway. He goes to a fortune teller, and he's like, hey, why is the plague striking the city? Because at this time, this is ancient Greece, they had a polytheistic society, and they believed that if something really, really bad happened, it meant that the gods were mad. So the fortune teller says, the king's murderer is still in the city, and it won't be lifted, the plague where everybody was dying. It won't be lifted until he's found out. So Oedipus is like, hey, I ran away from my destiny. I killed the Sphinx. I'm king of this place. I'm going to find him. And a blind prophet Tiresias goes, dude, you don't want to be looking for what you don't want to find. But Oedipus completely ignores Tiresias's advice. So he goes to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller tells him, it's you. You're the one who murdered the king. And Oedipus starts putting 2 and 2 together, and he's like, oh, man. You mean to tell me that guy I met on the street was my real dad? And I'm married to my mom? My mom is my wife, which creates all kinds of troubles because now the mom is also the grandma and the mother of the children. And I don't know what that makes Oedipus. Is he the grandpa? But the problems go much further than this because he goes home and he's like, babe, we got to talk. And he spills the entire story. And Jocasta can't handle it. She kills herself. So she hangs herself in their bedroom, and he goes into, Oedipus goes into the bedroom and finds his dead wife/mom there. And so he realizes that he was too blind to see the truth. So in a fit of emotional fury, he takes a pin off of the scarf that Jocasta was wearing, and he gouges his eyes out. So now he's really blind. People in this story are overly dramatic. You will soon find. Yeah, it doesn't stop here either. So Creon waits for a little while. He becomes temporary king, and eventually he lets things settle just a little bit. But eventually he says, you know what? This guy can't stay in the kingdom anymore because he killed our king. So he banishes him. Guess where? To the mountains where his dad originally pitched him to begin with. So Antigone and Ismene, being the faithful girls, know that he can't survive long in the mountains as a blind man. So they leave the palace life that they are accustomed to, and they go live with him. But Polynices and Eteocles stay behind. You know why they stay behind? Because they both have their eye on the throne. Well, that ticks Oedipus off, and he issues this huge curse on his sons because he feels like they were being selfish to live their own life and not go live, like some Bear Grylls kind of survivor man in the mountains with him. But they don't. So eventually, while Creon is temporary king, he waits for the boys to become of age because it would be his job to name one of them as king over the kingdom. And that part makes sense. But the rest of the part is the rest of it is just a bit shady. Because when the boys come of age, Uncle Creon chooses Eteocles over Polynices, which is fine, but he banishes Polynices, can you guess where? Kicks him to the mountains, pretty much, and says, you are no longer welcome in this country, in this kingdom, you got to get out, Eteocles is king. Well, up until that point, the boys hadn't been fighting, but let me tell you, they were fighting then, because the next thing we know, we've got civil war. And conveniently for Uncle Creon, both boys kill each other on the battlefield. And now nobody is left to be king but Creon. Meanwhile, Oedipus has died in the mountains, and the girls, Antigone and Ismene, have returned to the palace. So Creon makes another move. As official king, he declares that Polynices can't be buried, which is against the laws of the gods. The laws of the gods believe that if you are never buried when your body is dead, that you will roam the earth forever in eternal unrest. So pretty much Creon is condemning Polynices to a life of eternal unrest. So when the play opens, Antigone and Ismene have a decision to make. It seems as though Creon has been plotting to kill the entire family the entire time. Everybody in their family is dead. Their brothers are dead, their mom's dead, their grandpa/dad is dead. They're all dead. So should Antigone and Ismene just keep their mouths shut and live quietly in palace life? Their princesses' life can't be that bad. But their brother would be in eternal unrest forever. And they would be living in the palace with the guy who was responsible for their deaths. So, do they bury the brother and risk execution themselves to try to save his soul from eternal unrest? Or do they just do their thing and look out for number one? That's the conundrum we have when Antigone starts.